Okay, in order to write the slope-intercept form of an equation of a line, when given in this form, right, in its standard form, there's a couple different steps that you're going to do. So the first thing that you should do is I recommend drawing a line through the equal sign, right, so that we can keep our equation balanced on both sides. Next, what I want to do is, your whole goal is to get the y by itself. So when they say slope-intercept form, what they really want is it to look like this. Y equals mx plus b. And in this case, m is going to be your slope, and b is your y-intercept. So just keep that in mind. Now notice we already have a y-intercept that's already over here. We have negative 16, right? And now that may change when we do some division, but notice it's a constant, and our y-intercept is always a constant value. So what I got to move is I got to move the 3x over to the right, because notice in this equation in slope-intercept form, y is isolated and the variable x is on the right side of the equation. So to move this whole term 3x over to the right, I'm going to use inverse operations, which means the opposite operation, and the opposite of a positive 3x is negative 3x. In other words, I'm going to subtract it. Now when I have 3x and I subtract 3x, that leaves me with 0 x's on the left. So we like to say in mathematics, they cancel. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to subtract 3x from the right side. Now once I do that, you may be tempted to combine this negative 3x with a negative 16, but you cannot, because negative 16 does not have a variable. That is a constant value, while this is a variable because it has the letter in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rewrite it. I am going to put my x first, because notice when we put things in slope-intercept form, we have the slope first, then the x, and then we have our constant value. So that's why it's called slope-intercept. It's the slope first and the intercept afterwards. I'm then going to go ahead and circle this negative 16, and I'm actually going to move it over and down right after the negative 3x. Now since it's negative 16 and I'm relocating it after this variable, it's now, right, we now have this negative sign in between two different terms. And since it's in between, I'm going to call that minus instead of negative. So I move the negative 16 down, and I now have negative 3x minus 16. The only thing I have left on the left side of the equation is my negative 2y. Keep in mind that that negative sign in front of the 2, it stays with it. It is part of that term. Now I'm almost done. It looks very similar, right? We have a y on the left, an x, and a value, or a constant, on the right. The last thing I need to do is isolate y by getting rid of this negative 2. Notice this y, right, has a coefficient of positive 1, and that's always our goal when we're converting it. So I'm going to go ahead and divide by my coefficient, which is the number in front of the variable, negative 2. And I will divide this side by negative 2, which allows them to cancel, and all I'm left with is a y on the left side now. Now remember, whatever we do to the left, we must do it to the right. So I'm also going to divide this side by negative 2, and I have to do it to both terms. I can't just do it to one. A lot of times I'll see students where they do it right here for the slope, but they forget to divide it into the y-intercept value, or our constant. Now I'm going to put this in my calculator just to show you, because we are going to have some sign changes, and sometimes that'll happen. So for instance, if I put my calculator up here where you can see it, I'm going to type in negative 3 divided by negative 2. So negative 3, I'm going to hit my divide button by negative 2. And when I hit enter, I want you to notice it does give me 1.5, but the main thing I want you to notice is that it changed to a positive. And that's because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. Now, if you want to keep it as a fraction, you can simply go to your calculator, hit the math button on it, because it has a math button right here. And when you hit that math button, it's going to have some options that come up. One says fraction. Then once it comes up, you just hit enter twice, and it'll convert it to a fraction. And notice it says it's now positive 3 over 2. Kind of hard to see on the camera, 3 over 2. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down. So this changed from negative 3 over negative 2 to positive 3 over 2x. And now I want to go ahead and divide negative 16 by negative 2. So let me go ahead and go back again. Negative 16 divided by negative 2. And notice that changes to a positive 8. So for my y-intercept, I'm going to put plus 8. I'm going to go ahead and box it, and I am done. I've done exactly what it asked me to do. It said to write the slope-intercept form of the equation of each line. And I converted this, and that is my new equation in slope-intercept form. And that's all you're going to do to all of these problems that you have if you have this particular activity or something similar to it.